Every great story has a beginning, and most have detours, but this one has a lot of different U-turns even. Now, when I was a kid, back in 1980, they had a beautiful Indianapolis pace car made by Pontiac. It was cameo white with beautiful charcoal top, had T-tops, turbo lights, power booster. Man, it was drop dead gorgeous for 1980, and it was cool. Now, that was a car I sat in, looked at my brother, and I said, someday I'm going to own one of these. But before that, I had a very unique car. Now, don't get mad at me, GM faithful. It was a 1970 Dodge Challenger. Now, it wasn't an RT like you see in this picture here. It was a regular, just Challenger, 318 engine that I managed to blow up in 6 months, but thankfully had a 440 Magnum engine sitting right behind. Retrofitted the engine all in, got it all together. That car was fast now, and it was beautiful. And I loved that car. I mean, that was my high school car. It was really special. Just like in this color here, it was copperhead orange, and it made me really want an orange Challenger. Now, in 2008, when Chrysler came back with the Challenger, I knew I had to have one of those someday. Now, it took 9 model years for me to be able to afford to pull out an order sheet and order one, because I said, if I'm going to get one, I want to order it my own way. It was going to be my special car because it'd be the last new car I would own, and I never would let go of it. So, on May 29th of 2016, my brother and I sat down in a Dodge dealership showroom and we ordered our very special Challenger. A myriad of options are available, as you can see here in the pictures, from wheels to tires to interiors to colors to electronic groups, everything. And we had everything all done as we waited for that car to be brought from the factory in Brampton, Ontario, Canada. We waited patiently. And every day I would check in on their chat line and ask, okay, where's the car at now in the factory? Where is it on the line now? Finally, it hit KZ status and it was ready to be built. June 8th, 2016, the day after my birthday. Man, I was so pumped. I know the day the engine was put in, the day that it was painted, the day that they put the stripe on it, the day it hit the out dock for the train, the day it was put on the train, and every single train stop all the way from Brampton, Ontario, Canada to Portland, Oregon. But there was one problem. Our financing was about to expire, and Chrysler could not get the car off the train in time for our financing to be approved. Now, instead of going through it and saying, well, I'll just buy the car anyway without driving it, I don't think it's ever a good idea. I opted to go and do another search. And what I found was my bucket list dream answer. I'll never forget July 23rd, 2016. It was a date that the culmination of the top of my bucket list would finally be fulfilled. Not only did I get the gift of finally getting an Indy car, but I also got the bonus gift of flying a long ways out to get it and the task of driving it cross-country home. On that date, I received the keys from my salesman and person who became a very good friend of mine, actually, from Mike Anderson Chevrolet in Merrillville, Indiana, and started the trek west. Now, this was an Indy Festival car, not an Indy Pace car. In 2016, there were only 2 Chevrolet Camaro Indy Pace cars. One resides at the Indy Festival Museum in Indianapolis, Indiana. The second one resides with the winner of the race in 2016. Now you can see by the look on my face the joy of finally receiving the car. The keys were in my hands and I was ready to make that long trip on a hot 89-degree Chicagoland day with 90% humidity, but it didn't matter. I was so thrilled. I'll tell you folks, 36 years is a long time to wait, but to get a beautiful hyper blue Camaro with white stripes was really a miracle. We'll talk about the drive home in videos and in pictures, and I just want to tell you that the joy of that car and that day to this day still is a memory that I cannot shake the cobwebs off of. It was such an impressive moment for me, and one I'll never forget. However, about 50 miles to the west of Chicago, it hit.
Welcome back to Thunderstorm Coverage. I'm your reporter, Larry. This has literally been going on about 25 minutes now. And to give you an idea of, for people in the West Coast, they really don't, they may have thunderstorms, but they don't have thunderstorms like here. I've lived in the Midwest before, and it's just, when they're really bad cells, you get out of the way. You get hunkered down into a place where you can be covered, and the rain will still soak you or soak the car or whatever, but at least you're out of the rain and you're out away from that terrible, wind and stuff. You're protected. In just 20 minutes, here's what's happened to the parking lot. I mean, literally, the parking lot away from the car has gotten to a point where it is probably went up roughly 4 inches in water. So I'll show you the back of the car, and I'll show you the flooding area. So the back of the car is here. So we've got the back of the car, and then look at all this. I mean, it's literally so high that it's nearly got to the very bottom of the gas pumps on the islands here. So that's roughly about 5 or 6 inches. So thankful to get out of it, grateful to get out of it, and we'll have the top down hopefully very soon. But I'll tell you what, like with typical thunderstorms out here in the Midwest, once they pass, the humidity goes way down and you feel a lot better. So this is going to be a great drive the rest of the way.
Perhaps, but even by Midwest standards, this was a heck of a thunderstorm. I was about 10 miles to the north of Morris, Illinois when it hit, and got the brunt of the storm underneath a closed Citgo gas station. How thrilled was I to be undercover? I was really happy with the convertible, worrying about some serious hail and possible wind damage. But, like everything, storms don't last forever, and we were able to get back in the car, get the car through all the deep water, and continue heading west on Interstate 80.
What a difference about 60 miles makes. We have passed through the major part of the storm. Just a little bit of light rain out now, but as you can see, the ground is dry here. These storms that come through can be really damaging, and the storm that ended up being in the area where I had just come from was pretty serious. There was a lot of sirens going on after we left, and it was a good time to leave. So we got out of there, faced rain for about another 20-30 miles on Interstate 80 westbound, and we are about 110 miles still from our destination tonight. So this is the last night that I have personally where there's a meeting that I need to be at, or an appointment I should say, for tomorrow. From here on out, it's just pretty much wherever that we want to take the car. So it's going to be an awful lot of fun, and again, I am really glad you're on the way, because I'm tired right now. So keep me awake, okay?
I was really tired. In fact, if you notice at the end of that last video clip, my eyes are closed. Well, I wouldn't close my eyes for a long period of time for almost 700 more miles until this video clip was made.
Good morning. Well, that was the longest drive of my life, I'll be honest with you. I have not slept for 2 days, actually. Leaving the dealership, I got up at 7 a.m. Saturday to go pick up the car, and then didn't sleep on Sunday because of seeing my best friend, lived in Iowa, and then I've always wanted to come here, which is Dodge City, Kansas. I'm a history buff, love American history, and I love the history of the West as well. So I'm excited to take a look at some things here that go into what the West was like. So this is an opportunity for me to learn a little more about Wyatt Earp, who was a marshal here in the 1800s, and other historical things about Dodge City, Kansas. So this is part of a bucket list item as well. So we'll talk more tomorrow after I get probably about 12 or 14 hours of sleep. But safe and sound we are, and by the grace of God, we will now go to sleep. We'll check up with you tomorrow. Take care.
And it was a long wait, but I was on Wyatt Earp Boulevard right in Dodge City, Kansas, the middle of the Wild West. Doc Holliday, Bat Masterson, Wyatt Earp, they'd all walked these streets. They'd been here, and I was blessed enough to be with them. It was the trip of a lifetime bonus for me to go to Dodge City, Kansas. Here's one of the videos that was shot in Dodge City right near Front Street, the old Front Street, the original Front Street, where Doc Holliday, Bat Masterson, and the incomparable Wyatt Earp used to walk.
Hey there, welcome to the Wild West. This is Boot Hill, famous place in Dodge City, Kansas. This is actually the area where Wild Bill Hickok and Doc Holliday, Jesse James, Bat Masterson, and of course the famous Marshal Wyatt Earp all were at one time. I couldn't think of a better time to bring a pony car here. The term pony car actually came in the 60s when Mustang developed the word and actually created the market segment in the automobile industry. In 1964, early in 64, the Ford Mustang debuted and the muscle car, or pony car in this case, time started in American car culture. And thank goodness Ford did, because along came a lot of impressive cars and the pony car culture came. But here, we've brought a little gunslinger with us. There's the car right here at the famous Boot Hill area. This is where daily at Dodge City, they do a gunfight straight down this street. So every day at high noon, a lot of people come to this area to see a remake of what things were like in the Wild West days. So for me, this is really a treat to be able to see a place that I've always had an interest in seeing, but also to not only learn some history, but enjoy it while I see the USA in my Chevrolet. We'll see you guys soon and we'll catch up later. Take care.
And take care we did. All the way from the steam engine to Front Street. Famous Front Street in Dodge City, Kansas. I couldn't believe it. I was there with an incredible car, the trip of a lifetime. And there's the Long Branch Saloon. Yep, the real Long Branch. Not the one you see in the old Gunsmoke movies, but the real one. It was a great time in Dodge City, but as all good things, it must come to an end. Thunder clouds started building up again, and I knew it was time to get west of the Rockies. One more long drive to make, so it was time to head into the car and go as fast as we could to the west.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the banks of the Colorado River in beautiful Rifle, Colorado. This is day 6 of the trip, leaving Portland on Friday of last week, and it has truly been an amazing ride. It's kind of odd to come from Dodge City, Kansas to a town called Rifle, but I guess it all fits, right? Just happened to be on the way home. So going to be heading through Arches National Park today to take a quick look at it. We'll put some pictures up on this video as well of the car there and how beautiful it is there. I wanted to share some other information with you about this vehicle and how special it is to me. Not because of its rarity, but because of the miraculous way it came to me. I never expected to get this car. I didn't have the money to buy it. And thanks to Tom and the gang at Mike Anderson Chevrolet, including Mr. Anderson, they were kind enough to make an offer with me that I could afford to get a car of my dreams. So this has truly been an amazing ride for me and a great journey. Something about the car that I want to share with all of you that are maybe on the fence of buying one of the big three in terms of the modern muscle car era cars, the Challenger, the Mustang, or the Camaro. You really can't go wrong in any of those choices. They're all three very, very good cars. They all have their advantages and disadvantages. I'm going to tell you one of the advantages that I love about this. I really enjoy the ride quality no matter the weather or wind or whatever nature seems to throw at it. It's just very stable. The cars remain that way whether it's in 100-degree heat with 90% humidity or through a terrible thunderstorm where the winds are blowing at 50 and 60 miles an hour and I'm hunkering down to get out of the rain out underneath a highway overpass bridge. So the car really is very stable, at least this car is, no matter what the weather conditions are. Another thing that's nice is the heads-up display. I've used it all the way through. It's been great to be able to use that and to be able to have that information right in front of me without looking down at my gauges. So kudos to Chevy for adding that to this car, as well as the Corvette and a few other cars in the Chevrolet and General Motors stable. This is a trip of a lifetime, and I'm so thankful you're along for the ride.
And what a trip it was. From the canyons along the Colorado River, you could see for miles, and the beauty was incredible. Of course, you had to take a picture or two of the car as well. Car number 48 in western Colorado. Man, it was amazing. Finally, we crossed into Utah, and it was incredibly beautiful. In fact, so much so that a little friend had to say hello. And we had to say goodbye to the little friend because we still had a ways to go. If you look very carefully in this picture, you'll see the arches in Utah. This is as close as we were able to get to them that day. It was 104 degrees, and the line to get into the national park was so long that it just wouldn't make sense to be able to make it to the part of Nevada I needed to that night to be able to sleep and have a reasonable drive the next day to get to California. So we headed west again and up towards Salt Lake City, then west farther on Interstate 80 to get towards Nevada. It was beautiful the entire time.
Good morning and welcome to Elko, Nevada. This is the last stop before I reach Northern California, spend a few nights with a dear friend of mine and be able to then head back up to Oregon where the car will rest safely in the garage for most of its life. Elko is a really interesting town with a vibrant past. It originally was set up as a railroad town in 1869. From there, it was basically the western terminus of the railroad, and because of that, it had railroad employees, and many people found out there was gold in them there hills. So what happened was, of course, the area grew. Miners and prospectors came, ranchers came, and Elko actually became a town that was populated by both a big ranching population, but also by quite a few gold miners. Now, the gold mining still exists today, but it exists in a different way. The gold mining exists in a way that they usually have to take hundreds and hundreds of tons of rock to find their gold. I mean, that's what they do. They're through machines and they're sifted and resifted and resifted, and finally they get their gold. But it's still in operation here as of this day. As for the stockyards, they still do exist as well. The oldest building here in Elko is a 19th century hotel, which we're going to take a look at shortly. I love the history of this place because truly it is one of the last true cow towns left in the United States, and a part of our history that's slipping away. Just as these muscle cars somehow came back, this town has come back many times as well. So it's truly an honor to be here in Elko, Nevada. We'll talk soon.
I never overlooked a moment to see the little things, like this old sign about the Dwight D. Eisenhower Highway. President Eisenhower had a dream of putting a large highway system throughout the United States to make it easier to travel for people, especially troops. As we traveled through Nevada, the beauty of the mountains and the valleys was striking. It was a phenomenal trip through that state. But finally, we headed into California and reached the Sierras. The Sierras were beautiful, and I hit them at a perfect time, sunset. It almost seemed anticlimactic, but truthfully, at that point, we'd driven over 1,900 miles to get there. It was nice to be back on the West Coast again, especially considering that we've been through 4 major thunderstorms and a whole lot of humidity. Even though it was on the West Coast and in Northern California, this day was stifling hot. It was 104 degrees out when I took these photos of the car. This car had unique documentation, including the original number 48 license plate, as this was car 48 of 54 made. Included was the window sticker with the special Indy 500 Festival package at $5,750. And another rare item for documentation, the certificate of origin for the vehicle. Now, notice on this certificate of origin that the owner of the vehicle itself was General Motors Corporation, and it was sold to General Motors Corporation because it was a promotional vehicle exclusively for the Indy 500 that year. A very rare find indeed, and I was very blessed and grateful to have it.
Hi there, welcome to the ride back home. We're currently in Northern California, heading over the rice fields just outside of Sacramento. That would be a lot of fun to come through this direction. I've got a dear girlfriend that lives in the Sacramento area, so it was nice to see her for a few days. And we are still on our way back home, so glad to have you along as we travel north.
into the great state of Oregon in the Pacific Northwest. It's currently 70 degrees outside. It's absolutely perfect to have the top down, the music up, and see the USA in our Chevrolet. All right, let's find some new roads.
Good morning from Northern California. We're almost done with our long trek from the state of Indiana to the Pacific Northwest. But before we close all of this out, a couple more videos to share with you and a story. This story, as you know, has been a long time dream of mine. It goes back 36 years to sitting in the showroom floor of a Pontiac dealership in Portland, Oregon when I was 16 years old, sitting there and looking at a Indianapolis Pace Car 1980 Pontiac Turbo Trans Am. My mom was about to buy her first brand new car at that time. It would be blue. I wanted her to buy the white Turbo Trans Am Indy Pace Car. I was really trying to talk her into it. I did everything I could to say, Mom, no, this is the car to get. It's got a radio power booster in it and everything. It's so cool. When you're 16, you're pretty impressionable. Well, she bought the blue one instead, and I got to tell you, I didn't mind her buying the blue one because it was a beautiful car and real fun car to drive as a teenager. But I always had that dream that someday God would provide me one of these cars. I never knew that 36 years would go by and then somehow God would get the two cars combined. A blue car with white on it. Kind of in honor of my mom, and to me it made it really special when I saw this car that this was the right car and it was built just for me. Indy Festival car number 48 will stay in my garage most of its life. It will go to car shows and cruise-ins, and it'll have lots of enjoyable days out in the sun. But for the most part, it's going to stay in the garage covered up, and it'll be kept there safely. But it won't just be in the garage. Years ago, when I was in the automobile appraisal industry, a gentleman came in with a 67 Corvette 427 3.2 barrel carburetor, Stinger hood Corvette. Thing was beautiful. In fact, it was a rotisserie restoration. The car was gorgeous. And it was probably a good $100,000 restoration. I asked the gentleman, after he got the appraisal from me, where he was going from there. And he said, I'm going all the way to Bend, Oregon. That was about 150 miles south. And I asked him, why are you driving this car? This car's had so much money invested into it. Why would you put so much money into buying it and then turn around and drive it like this? And he said, you know, in 1967, I was in Vietnam. I was in the war there, and I would get the auto magazines, and I'd be able to see the cars that were advertised, and all I wanted was this car. This car was so special to me, that's all I wanted. My father just passed away, and in his life insurance policy was enough money, just enough money to buy this car. I didn't get to drive it back then, but now I do, and I'm going to enjoy every moment. I learned a lesson that day that cars are really meant to be enjoyed. Yeah, you can look at them and enjoy them and take the time to admire them while they sit in your garage, but you also get a chance to drive them and really use them as they were meant to be, to have fun. While this has been a very long drive and put a lot of mileage on this car, I wouldn't trade one of those miles for anything. The journey has been just as valuable as getting the car was for me. One other thing that's special to me about this car I'm going to share with you as a personal note. My mom passed away back in 1995, and she had long since sold her blue Trans Am that I loved so much. But when I was blessed to get this car, Indy Festival car number 48, I was also blessed to see something I didn't anticipate, and that was this. The date on this car for the race this year was May 29th, 2016. In 1995, on May 29th, my mother passed away, finally from heart issues that she had had all her life. I was the first child ever to be born alive when the mother had open heart surgery during her term. The doctors all told her to abort me, that I couldn't be saved, but she could be. But because of her strength and her faith in God, and also her willingness not to let go of me, she went through with a terribly risky surgery, and that's the reason I'm here today. And that's the reason I also am blessed to enjoy this ride. And maybe, just maybe, have someone be inspired by their dream someday of getting their special car. And to not give up on that dream, no matter how many years go by. Don't give up on that dream. because you never know when that moment happens, when the sky opens up and a blessing comes upon you, when your dream is fulfilled. This is my bucket list. This is one of the biggest bucket list items I've had on my list of things to accomplish in my lifetime. And someday it'll be handed down to someone in my family to enjoy and hopefully never sell, to keep the heritage alive. I hope you have that opportunity as well. I really do. No matter what kind of car it is. Again, I've not favored any car over another on this whole trip. I've just been thankful for the opportunity. Whatever your dreams are, I hope you reach them. I hope you pray to the Lord that you'll reach those goals. And with faith, amazing things happen. Let's head up the road on I-5 North and let's reach the Pacific Northwest safely, okay? I'll see you there.
The drive north is beautiful. From the valley that's so fertile in Northern California, all the way up to the southern part of the Cascade Mountain Range, you see incredible sights, such as Lake Shasta, which is one of the most beautiful parts of Northern California. I had to stop and get a picture of the car right here by Mount Shasta, the second highest peak in the state of California. We were almost to Oregon at this point, within 100 miles.
Welcome to the great state of Oregon. I'm sure we're gonna get some people honking horns here, but I just wanted to say it's been a long drive. This is the 10th state that we've been through, and about 3,300 miles. Trip of a lifetime. I really hope you all get the chance to take a trip like this someday soon. There is nothing like it, truly. Welcome to Oregon. Let's take a look.
As I drove north, the approximately 250 miles that I had to still drive, I began to think hard on all the states I'd been through, the miles that had been racked up, the thunderstorms, and the pure joy of driving the car and experiencing something that I'd always dreamed of doing. I had driven the road less traveled, and I was so grateful for the experience. It took me a long time to come up with the right words at the end of this video, but that's not quite the end, so hang in there.
Well, here we are at the end of the road. I wondered how to end this journey with you, and the only way I could think of doing it was to say that it took a long time to get here. It was more than just 8 days and 10 states. It was 36 years of waiting and praying and hoping and never giving up on the dream. I know there's people out there who have always had a dream of getting a special car, and my hope for you is that this video will inspire you and hope that you don't give up on that dream. Sometimes the answer is no when it seems like it doesn't make sense, but you'll know when it's the right car and you'll know when it's the right moment. For me, it took 36 years to get here, but I'm glad I waited because I was blessed to get the perfect car, at least for me. I wish you the greatest of success in getting your dreams fulfilled with the car that you've chose. And I hope along the way that you get to enjoy every mile. It's not a race to the finish line, but the journey is the blessing. So enjoy your blessing, enjoy your gift, and never give up on God and the ability that He has to make incredible miracles happen in your life, whether it be a car or anything else in your life. May God bless you, and thanks a lot for joining me on the ride.
I had driven over 3,150 miles in less than a week, been through 10 states, multiple storms, and I was thrilled because I got to do it in a convertible Camaro. What a joy that is. But that's not all. Once the car finally got home and got cleaned up, we got a chance to show it. Now, I have a brother who has cancer, unfortunately, and we were at a car show, and the car won its division. I want to show you the look on his face when he comes back with the trophy. Here's the video. Seeing the look and smile on my brother's face as he came back with the trophy for the car show is a memory I'll never forget. It was a look of childhood joy, a look of pure happiness. And you know, it's probably one of the things I'll remember most about this car because it was so special It really, really was. And then something very tragic happened. On the evening of January 15, 2017, our garage caught fire due to a faulty electrical system. Fire investigators later found that one of the nuts holding the main power supply in from the service meter to the circuit breaker panel had come loose and had arced against the inside of the circuit breaker panel, causing a massive fire. Unfortunately, it completely destroyed the Camaro, to the point where it was almost unrecognizable. I was devastated. I had very little left, and our house was extremely damaged. There's not much one can say when you go through a tragedy like this. It wasn't only the Camaro, but it was nearly everything we had that was destroyed. But when I was sifting through the garage ashes after the Camaro was drug out of the garage, a voice came clearly into my head, and I can tell you with all assuredness, it was there. I told my fiancée at the time, the girl who was my girlfriend in California, by the way, something's going to happen. I heard a voice just say, out of these ashes, I'm going to raise you a miracle. 4 days later, we found out what that was. 189 days after buying the Camaro, the Challenger we had ordered was still on the dealer lot for sale. Somehow, in 7 months, the car had not been sold and was actually saved from being in the fire because it didn't come off the truck in time. We were blessed with an amazing miracle that truly did rise from the ashes. And that miracle was so special, it had a window sticker that had my name on it, saying the vehicle was built especially for me. And then the big news. FCA was contacted, and while the Camaro was one of 54 made, this Challenger was one of only 3 produced just like it in 2016. So in the end, truly, a miracle was raised from those ashes, something I could never have dreamed of happening. I have the memory of driving and getting an Indy car, bringing it all the way home from Indiana. And those memories, they can't burn away. And had the Challenger arrived off the train in time, it would have been completely destroyed. So in the end, that miracle was raised by God from those ashes, and we are so grateful. Thank you for watching. Share the video with others, and enjoy your day.